Thank you, Dean Ramey, or as she's known in our family, Dean Drusi. Let me add my congratulations to the class of 2011. Law school is hard. Law school takes a long time. It can take as long as college, but is not as much fun. But you're done now, and you've made it through. You're off to the real world. God help you. Let me add a special congratulations to those of you who went to law school at night and worked jobs during the day. What you did was difficult, and I salute you for making it through. I was a full-time law student, and that was hard enough. But to graduate from law school while working full-time, and I know for many of you, going to law school, working at a job, and also maintaining a family life is really extraordinary. So congratulations again. But enough about you. Before you do anything else today, I hope you say thank you to other people. Say thank you a lot. Say thank you to your parents if you are still lucky enough to have them. You should always say thank you to your parents, but especially today, and especially if they paid for all or part of your adventure here at Golden Gate. Say thank you to your friends, spouses, and significant others for putting up with you these past 3 or more years. There are few people in the world more self-absorbed than law students, although I suspect journalists may be a close second. And my strong inclination is that more than once you tax the patience of those significant people in your lives. So say thank you to those folks. Golden Gate is a special school. There are not many others like it. Many of you, probably most of you, are not typical law students. That is, the kids who graduated from college and went straight into full-time law students. You are diverse in every sense of the word. Many of you are the first in your families to go to graduate school. Many of you are the first in your families to go to college. Before you came here, you were teachers, scientists, journalists, patent engineers, and one of you was a writer for The Onion. You are all fluent in English, but you are also fluent in Spanish, Mandarin, Cantonese, Farsi, Korean, Azerbaijani Turkish, and ASL, American Sign Language. You are graduating into uncertain economic times. I work in cable news, so I am comfortable making these kind of blindingly obvious observations. But it's true, the recession is technically over, but times are lousy, especially in law firms. I'm glad that many of your parents are here, but I hope not too many of you are moving back home. But times of uncertainty, times of change, that's something to embrace rather than something to fear. Let me give you one example from my own life. Now, I suspect many of you, if you know me as a television legal analyst. Well, when I graduated from law school in 1986, I did not aspire to be a television legal analyst. I didn't because the job didn't exist. There was no such thing as a television legal analyst. For that, we have San Francisco native O.J. Simpson to thank. Or at least I have O.J. Simpson to thank. But I think the point is of broader application. Many of you will spend your careers in jobs and fields that do not even exist today. You will litigate cases or do deals on subjects and products that have not yet been invented. That thought is a little bit scary, but a lot exciting. In my current line of work, I have, for obvious reasons, been thinking a lot about the United States Supreme Court. I hope you have too, at least now and then. Things have actually gotten a little strange for me in this area recently, and I'll tell you why. Because I get asked a question fairly often, which is, who's your favorite justice? Now, I always have had one answer to that, and that answer was David Souter. David Souter was my favorite justice because he was just so strange. He was a guy who didn't have a computer, who didn't have a cell phone, who ate an apple, including the core, and yogurt for lunch every day. He didn't like electric light. He used to move his chair around his chambers over the course of the day to catch the sunlight. But he also he had a wry wit that you could sometimes miss. And one of the things about the Supreme Court that is interesting and kind of peculiar is that the justices are at once public figures, but private figures as well. People sort of know who they are, but not really. For reasons that remain obscure, for example, David Souter and Stephen Breyer of Lowell High School are frequently mistaken for each other. Now, if you know what they look like, they don't look anything alike, but it happens to both of them. And one time, not too long ago, as Justice Souter was driving from Washington to his home in New Hampshire, he stopped in a little restaurant to get something to eat. And a couple came up to him. The guy recognized him. He said, "I know you. You're on the Supreme Court, right?" He said, "Yes." He says, "You're Stephen Breyer, right?" And Souter didn't want to embarrass him in front of his wife, so he said, "Yes, I'm Stephen Breyer." He chatted for a little while, but then he asked a question that Souter wasn't ready for. The guy said, "So Justice Breyer, what's the best thing about being on the Supreme Court?" He thought for a minute and he said, "I'd have to say it's the privilege of serving with David Souter." Now, how can you not love a guy like that?